Welcome to RPG Blokes. In the last podcast, we talked about the physical things, the tools of the trade. This is more about your mental preparation. I'll start by introducing the RPG Blokes. Stephen, I always warn everybody never to trust one of Stephen's characters. They're very shady. At the age of 9, he embraced the backstab rules from D&D First Edition and has run with them really for 40 years. Assisted by his favourite die.
I do like a good rogue and an uneven die, yeah.
Okay. Barry, who has a penchant for characters who can bludgeon bad guys to death with inanimate objects. And the occasional good guy, too. It really doesn't seem to matter. John plays a fantastic nutty professor. You know, the type, unkempt, silver hair, absent-minded, bag stuffed with books. Not quite sure where he gets the inspiration from.
Only one character to play. I'm cosplaying constantly.
You're going to come into your first session, you're going to be required to make a character to represent you within the game. And there are going to be a multitude of choices involving which character you might choose. We've already spoken in the previous podcast about being a little bit ahead of that and reading the rules and coming along with a rule book or having a little idea about what you might want to take. So we won't go into that really in any more detail. We'll go into some of the other considerations of character choice. Let's talk about backstory, and not just backstory, personality traits. How important would you say, as a DM, Stephen, when a new player sits at your table, that they already have a fairly decent idea of where that's going to take them?
I think it definitely would be helpful. If they did, that's great. If they've made the time to try and think about their backstory and how their character will act in game. Yeah, I think maybe the personality traits of the character may be slightly more important, but they could be based on the backstory, of course, because obviously backstory is something that's already happened to the character. That's great. It gives you an idea of how to play it in the future, and picking personality trait is a good start. When I think about those, I think maybe go obvious with personality traits. There's no point in having a character with many shades of grey that don't come across. You might as well have one personality trait that really comes across a lot, like I love gold or I hate goblins or something. It's something quite simple that you can stick to as a basis of a character.
Sounds like it's out of the Barry textbook. I remember you saying that in a previous podcast. It was one of your characters that you went with no appreciation of money, and that really just led the way with everything else that come together with the character.
So yeah, I think
there's something on the mic.
I can't hear you. No.
Speak again, Barry.
Hello.
Mm.
Oh. Hold on, I appear to be back.
You appear to be back.
I can hear myself. Can you hear me? Fuck you guys.
So what did he say?
Once more with fearing.
So I think the thing to remember about backstory is that if you want to have a complicated backstory, then you need to know the lore. I think if you're a new player, you're probably not going to know the lore. So just come in with what I always think of it as a hook. Just come in with one simple thing that will help you play your character in a certain way. And like you said, but had no concept of money. And that it was an interesting thing to do, particularly in D&D, which is very kind of gold and treasure orientated. It was an interesting thing to play. As a new player, I don't think you need to worry about it too much. In fact, even if at all, you're I think probably most people, when they play their first character, they are essentially playing an extension of themselves. They do what they would do, they sound how they would sound, and I think that's a perfectly valid way to approach your first character. If there's something you've always had a burning desire to be because of your, enjoyment that you take out of particular genres, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan and you're a Conan the Barbarian fan and you want it to be about, then pick something that means something to you, but you don't have to get hung up about the depth of that character. That can be revealed as the game goes on. In fact, it's a way that I quite like to play it. I'll have one hook about a character, and then the experience that character has in that session are what ends up shaping how that character ends up. I realise it's not a particularly studious way to play the game, but it's a way that I enjoy, and I think other people would as well.
Yeah, those choices will come naturally during the session. You don't need to worry about it. But for somebody who is a little bit more nervous about that side of things, each player is normally called upon to describe their character, if not their personality, how they might physically look. Thinking about these things in advance or having an idea of them may make you feel more at ease. If that's, I don't know, would that be a reason why somebody might feel nervous to turn up and play the game in the first place? It's been so long since I've been there, but I think for me it might be.
I hate introducing character. part of the reason I hate introducing the character is because normally I haven't got a clue who that character's going to be when we start. And like I say, you know, my experiences in the game are what ends up. I think this is a good point to talk about a little bit more in depth. Alignment. So one of the most important decisions that you'll make is your character's alignment. And alignment is essentially, you know, that character's moral position. Are you good? Are you evil? Are you neutral? If you can be true to that choice, I think the rest of it just sort of falls into place. You've got chaotic and lawful and neutral, good and evil. And one of my favourite combinations to play is chaotic neutral, because you can essentially do whatever you want and justify it from a moral position. You can have the occasional bout of evilness.
I was picking up on the alignment thing. You say chaotic neutral. I think it's one of the more difficult alignments to play as a new player, because you can do anything technically. Whereas you play lawful good, you know you're going to be lawful, and you know you're going to be good. And chaotic evil, you know you're going to be chaotic, you know you're going to be good, evil. Sorry, and you can play those extremes. Chaotic neutral, you feel that people just do what they want.
Would you recommend as something to do in advance of a session for somebody who's playing Dungeons and Dragons to read up on the different alignments? What there might be a combination of those things. Barry, you mentioned maybe 8 different alignments. Is there or something along those lines?
Yeah, it's a mixture of
not too much reading, is it, to read up on those?
No, it's a good thing to read, I think, and especially if you want to play a type of character or have a personality in your character. It's definitely a starting point for me. I don't think it ends there, but it certainly starts there. And pick something that, if you don't want to sort of like come up with your own unique take on it, pick something that's quite specific, like play a very good lawful character, and then you know exactly what you're doing in all situations.
So I'm a great fan of a session 0, preferably one-on-one. I know it's not always possible if you've got a whole group at the table. If you've got the prep time and you can do that, then people can come up with their concept. So when they're choosing their skills, it's not just, click, I'll choose that feat. Okay, who taught you it? Why did you learn it?
So those things that you prefer, would you say it's a bigger advantage for a new player to come in having already thought of these things before they enter? Because you're giving them more room to breathe in. Those sessions are quite long. Those considerations take up more time. But I suppose if you're stuck there and you've got writer's block and you can't think of anything.
Yeah, so most of the game books, the basic players ones, they'll have a 10, 20 questions thing at the beginning. Yeah. Most of us will just skip past that because we're long in the tooth. But they're good ones. It'll be, what's your background? Where did you come from? Why are you adventuring rather than risking life and limb for a pool full of silver, rather than just sitting back in your village with, you know, your other half and your 2.5 kids and just selling overpriced items to adventurers that come your way.
Yeah. So your style of game, you would be asking these questions, whereas many other games, and I think develop them during the game itself. So if you're going to be sitting down with a DM like John, who's going to be wanting to run 2 or 3 hours of character gen backstory, I think it's probably more important to come along with some idea of what you're going to do under those circumstances.
No, I think absolutely. And it depends on the style of the game that you're playing. And the vast majority of what I play is you know, D&D 5e, and those character generations and decisions just aren't as involved. Were I sitting at a table with John, I would, of course, embrace coming with something like that. But I wouldn't say I was winging it, but it worked. I just want to get on with the game. Do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes I feel like character generation is like, I just want to get that door open and start rolling my dice. So my character will work itself out. Some systems lend themselves more to some styles of gameplay than other systems do. And
yeah, so Stephen, you're somewhere in between the two points of view there, aren't you? Because you play indie games. Your game you're playing, one of them at the moment, is 40k Dark Heresy.
40,000.
Fair bit of background work on characters on that. I can see that your players have engaged with that quite a lot, but you also believe that backstory is for the player. What you do in the session, how you develop that character is more important.
To get the game going as well. I realise people have turned up and they want to play a game. So, yeah, if that can be done kind of beforehand, that's great. Otherwise, yeah, a little bit of knowledge about where your character come from, and then just bring that into the game as you can. Develop the character as you play. I think I prefer that sort of method. And then you can reveal a backstory. You might not think of it beforehand, but you might think of something. You think, oh, my character used to do this, and then just bring it up and say, yeah, okay, you did it. That's fine. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that at all. It's just a personal preference for me. But if I'm playing, I'll grab a pre-gen sheet like the 5th edition we're doing on the Wednesday, glance and rattle along as I go along. That's fine, because it is what it is. If I'm reffing, most of the time I've found that characters will dictate or certainly suggest whole storylines, which are either sparked off by something that happens as part of the scenario, or that they'll just go at it from a completely different direction because that's what their character would do. I fucking love that.
But that's
shit.
spontaneous. It sounds like that's spontaneous.
Yeah.
You don't need to prepare for that kind of thing.
No. Well, that's where the knowledge of the world and how things go come in as a ref. But if the players come from a particular background, yeah, you can fold them in to the narrative. If something in their past is part of the story, that can change what you was going to do, but usually better because the players are going to be far more involved.
So you see an advantage of doing it together with the other players involved.
So I'm famously, this has come out, is that I do very, very little prep. That doesn't mean I'm not thinking about it. And I think one of the things that I've found really interesting since playing tabletop role-playing games is that when I am consuming fiction, I find myself thinking, oh, I wonder what alignment that character in, like one of my, I have a more than a mild obsession with Firefly and Serenity. And the operative from the movie Serenity for me is the perfect representation of lawful evil. Absolutely bang on the money. So although you don't necessarily have to come into it having, thought really in depth about it, but if you're coming into it saying, I want to play a character like this character I know from my beloved fiction, then have a little think about what alignment is that on screen or in that literature or whatever. I think that's a really good starting point. One of my aspirations is to play a lawful evil character at some point. I've never played an evil character. I've done some evil things, but people are complicated, man.
That's the chaotic neutral coming through.
Chaotic neutral.
Were I to do that, the other one that gets bandied around a lot as well is Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter series. That's another good example of lawful evil.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think is a difficult one to kind of
I would
play.
say neutral evil. They are more the true evil than either of the others.
But straight away we're debating it. People take their alignment as if it's a really simple decision, but it isn't.
I think it's a great idea, isn't it? People come along with an idea of the character based upon something they've read or seen on the movie, and then try and apply the alignment to it. It's fun.
And it's not, from mine and John's little exchange, it's not as easy as you think because people are complicated. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's also, although I love the alignment system and I think it's the most important decision, it's also, in many ways flawed because people are much more complicated than 8 alignments.
Yeah.
If you're playing your character well, your character should kind of be more complicated than their alignment.
Yeah, I think 2 complicated characters don't really come across in a role-playing game too much. I think simplicity is the key. So I think that's where the complication becomes. Not one character needs to be everything. I think that as a group, you should work together to create the story between you, and different people fulfill different roles and alignments.
So the message is feel free to do that, a bit of prep, come along with a character in mind, or just turn up and you will not be at any disadvantage. The questions will be asked of you. A good DM will draw those things out. You're not going to be sitting there and thinking, I don't know what to do, because it just seems to flow so naturally, doesn't it? The ideas, you could be the least imaginative person in the world and you would surprise yourself.
Sometimes, rarely, it's not that relevant. If you're starting off with a dungeon crawl, just a purely physical little tactical setup, kick the doors down, kill the monsters, steal the treasure. That might be the intro, the hook that gets all the characters together.
You might be that evil rogue that likes to steal all the gold because they love the gold.
You might be an evil type, but they might have some personal objections to things like, slavery. That's a thing that's always considered bad. That doesn't mean it's acceptable to everyone. Capitalism. There's whole ranges on. There's enlightened. There's despotic, and again, the different characters will interact with that in a different way.
That's a capitalism, Barry. No, I'm just kidding.
It's always capitalism.
Is that a character class? A capitalist? That'd be great.
No, they're the NPC bad guys. God.
My 2 great loves in D&D are really long campaigns and one-shots. Like 4 completely different reasons. Like the reason I love a one shot is that actually alignment, personalities, they're back burners. You know that your one shot is going to be a little bit of role play and a fuck ton of combat. And I love it for that. But then I also love like long campaigns where you do spend time thinking about what would my guy do? What is my guy's motivation? How is my guy getting on with the other characters at the table. I
just thought maybe we mentioned some games that have pre-generated characters that give you kind of like people's motivations. One we played recently was Alien RPG by Free League. A lot of those scenarios were short, but they had very much, every character had an agenda that kind of interwove with everyone else's agendas, kind of created conflicts or reasons to work together. So those sort of games are obviously very different to a...
But they're more like one-shots, right? Wouldn't you say? I know there was one session, but
one-shots equivalent. I suppose they average 3 to 4 sessions, I suppose. Like tournament games you would play. If you turn up to a convention and play a tournament game, you'd be given a character with a very specific kind of agenda.
Yeah, your character already has a friend and a rival in the group you're with, and that added a lot. It can be difficult to play sometimes, especially if, say, you get along with the other player, but your characters are rivals, and you wouldn't take your foot off their head if they was drowning yet, but it might be the other way around. You might not get along with a particular player. I mean, and I've been to games where not everyone has got along, but their characters work well. It's going to happen in any group.
I haven't experienced that yet. I get on with everyone. I've been playing for 5 years now, and I have
definitely not in many years. Yeah, it's very rare. In our game, go refer back to it. The DM gave us all a secret, didn't he?
I like stuff like that. I think it's a really clever DM tool.
And those things, DM, you could always ask your DM to give you a little something, couldn't you? A little secret, or a little angle on your character. As I say, don't turn up worried about these things. The pressure is rarely on you. And if it is, there's plenty of people that would jump in if they see you awkward and give you an idea and point you to a random table to roll on or something.
And if you haven't got anything already in your mind, you can always retcon it. It might come up in character a lot later on down the line, but it's not necessarily that it's just happened. It's just never come up before or something like that. So
Okay, so backstory, personality traits, that kind of thing. I mentioned this as a joke, really, but character voice. Don't worry about coming along with your accent, well rehearsed and trained. And that's quashed the rumour that D&D, and it's not full of actors and voiceover actors and thespians. It really isn't.
Although we do have one at our table.
There we go. I feel intimidated now.
You might fancy giving it a go, but you might be the only one at the table doing it. But if you're not self-conscious about that, that's great. But
we've got 3 DMs here. Who can do the best accent?
It'll probably sound racist or trigger certain people. I've got a vampire character, my only vampire character, and he's German.
He's what? Well, that would be the same race. That's xenophobic, not racist.
Oh, right then. Well, whatever. See what I mean about trigger? Jeez.
We get you cancelled now.
Give us your Adolf Hitler.
No, it's not. It's just a slight... It's not full-on LOLOs. It's a tiny little thing because he's trying to conceal it because he's in America and stuff like that. No, I've really got to get into that to do that. So if you're playing a particular type of character, they'll go about doing... It's not role-playing so much as how you describe their actions.
Stephen taught me actually on how to do that, 'cause I'm rubbish at them. I'm not going to give you one of mine, but you have an entry phrase, don't you? Particularly
for Northern Ireland.
Yeah, exactly.
Power shower.
So you say,
if you see power shower, you can't help but go Northern Ireland.
And then from then on, you're in.
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah. Well, for a little bit.
And apparently for Geordie, it's a can of Coke.
Can of Coke, or there's the Jamaican one, beer can sandwich.
Jimmy Carr.
That's it.
Yeah. It's tough to stay in, to be fair. One drifts between sort of Northern Ireland and Wales and India, and then we're back again.
When I was playing Doc Tanner, my Call of Cthulhu character, I always enunciated everything correct. But it was well modulated, and I'd always find a wordy way of phrasing something. It wasn't an accent, but it was how he would have spoken.
That happens naturally as you're playing the character.
I don't always notice it.
Yeah. But no requirements there whatsoever. No, you're not going to be surrounded by amateur dramatics. It's just not like that. It's normal guys like us just playing.
If you feel pressured into any of that,
then you're at the wrong table. Yeah. You're at a table that's not for you.
It's the table rather than the hobby that's wrong for you, then, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
One thing you do need to prepare to do is use your imagination and creativity. I think you probably picked up on that by now, that these 2 qualities are important. Don't overthink it. Think it, do it, and see what happens and where it takes you.
I don't think you have to be a super creative person. I certainly don't consider myself to be particularly imaginative or creative.
But bring what you've got.
But bring what you've got, and be prepared to speak up as well. It's be prepared to take it seriously. Be prepared to realise that you're taking life and death situations for your characters and for your party, take those decisions seriously.
Check out RPG Blokes Plus. It's our premium service where we give you the opportunity to help pay our bills. And we guarantee you an episode every week, exclusive live plays and interviews. And that's got to be worth £3 of anyone's money.
RPG Blokes Plus. Regular episodes for a regular you.
Yeah, so it flows logically in some ways. If you've got that alter ego shaping itself in front of you on the paper, then those decisions then can flow a bit more naturally, even though they're most likely going to be decisions you're going to be making yourself. As we say, beginning players often play an extension of themselves rather than shape a character that's a completely alien alter ego to who they normally are. That's normal.
Yeah, when we talk about firing imagination and stuff, you could even turn up to a session and really just sit there and watch a lot of the time, especially if you're new to it. If it's firing your imagination, in the end, you're into the game if you sit down and listen and watch.
There's no such thing as a quiet player by definition, is it? We don't ever think that player's quiet. You just...
It's understandable. When I first started playing, I think I didn't say hardly anything. You just, you absorb it in and watch people play.
Yeah, be comfortable, be quiet, be comfortable. There'll be plenty of other people that will want to speak in your stead.
Oh, yeah. The vacuum will be filled.
Yeah, no doubt.
No, but and again, I think if you're a good table and you're the quiet player, a good table will still ask you to confirm that you agree with the decision that's been made. I think as an absolute minimum, you're expected to give the nod to a plan.
But you're never made to feel awkward.
A
plan?
Listen, I think you will feel awkward. I don't think you're made to feel awkward. I felt awkward, particularly when called upon to speak in my character. That was something I just found I was way outside my comfort zone, and no one made me feel like that. It wasn't behaviour of other people at the table. That was just my own anxiety.
Did you feel obliged to do it?
No, I wanted to do it. I wanted to be part of the story, but that doesn't make it easy. But then, this is something I say to my son, nothing worth doing is easy.
Well, when I was younger, I was really shy. I was the quiet guy and everything else. Not good with people, still not. But what I've found is you can hide inside the character.
Yeah, I just say that you get out what you put into it, and the more you kind of engage with it, the more you'll get out of it.
So we're coming to the end of the podcast now, and the last thing I did want to talk about, and I'm not quite sure how relevant this is and how much of an insight we can have on it, but say that you've done all of these things, you've listened to our podcast up until this point, and you're going to go to your first game this evening. There'll be some last-minute nerves, right? And making sure that you get there is so important. You can tell it's a fantastic hobby. We love it, and we think you will too. Just make sure you go, right? Isn't that the point?
And sometimes the hardest thing I have to do is walk out my front door. Do you know what I mean? Once I've walked out my front door, everything's tickety-boo. The world's out there, and it's full of people, and people aren't always the best. And I just turn up. It's the worst thing that can happen is you realise it's not for you and you don't go back. That's literally the worst-case scenario.
John, I'll come to you because you've often said, that might be a barrier to starting in the first place. You were naturally very quiet when you were young. If you were an adult now,
I like that. Do you mean if I was a functioning adult now? 'Cause that's a different thing. On the assumption I still had the hobby of reading and the things that I'm into anyway. If I knew someone that had described it, I'd probably give it a go.
A lot of societies have kind of like a Discord or something like that you can get into first and speak to people online before you go. That kind of breaks the ice a lot of the time, and you kind of can get an idea of who you're playing with. That can help, especially if you speak directly to the DM. That can help you. If you want to turn up that evening, you can speak to them during the day and confirm everything's good.
We interact with a lot of people like that, don't we? That enter our community online.
You kind of make them feel more at ease if they speak. You speak to them, and I think they're more likely to turn up if you've...
They don't always, though, do they?
Not always, I suppose. Yeah, there's a few repeat offenders, isn't there? But they just love to come online and pretend they're coming, but yeah.
They don't. But are they mischief makers, or are they generally people that just can't...
I don't know.
Listen, I'll go back to sometimes the hardest thing I have to do is walk out my front door. I think you need to give those people the benefit of the doubt. I think that most people are probably well-intentioned, and when it comes to crunch time, their social anxiety gets the better of them and they can't do it.
I totally agree.
Because when we first went, we went as a group as well, didn't we? We went together with some friends. So if you've got someone, bring someone with you as well. So
yeah.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
go with some people, and then you
Yeah,
can play
look, we
together.
approach our community. Anybody who makes contact, we take them at face value. And even if they're repeat offenders, like you say, that we've had, I keep on extending the offer. And I do think that for quite a lot of people, getting through the door at that first time is, like you say, the most difficult thing by far.
Yeah.
And then,
Because the good thing about the club in particular, there's something for everyone. That's the benefit of going to a club. There's more than likely you're going to see at least one person there that you get along with, and a system that will capture your imagination.
And another fear you may have, and maybe I can cover this one, is that you're going to be integrated into a group of people that you're not comfortable with, maybe on an age level, because we're talking to you as middle-aged or older or slightly younger. Whether you're going to get there and then be placed with a bunch of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, you may not want that. You may want to be clear what kind of thing you're going to experience before you get there. And I think very few people do actually ask the question, how old are the people that are playing the game that I'm playing? It doesn't get asked very often. I can only imagine it's because people feel uncomfortable asking the question. But I do try and gauge that a little bit and try and make sure that new players end up in the groups they should. What do you think, Barry?
Well, on a personal level, that would never enter my head to ask that. Not because I think I might be judged for asking it, but one of the things that's been really joyous about this whole experience for me is playing with people from different generations. Yeah. That's been one of the that's what I would put forward as one of the huge pluses.
So most people don't care. You think that's why I'm not being asked the question?
No, absolutely. I think the reason that question's not being asked is because people don't care. You know, I've sat at tables with 19, 20-year-olds and really enjoyed their company. I think young people are worth experiencing. Phrasing. But yes, to expand on that ill-phrased comment. So the first, this has been mentioned before, but when I was first reffing at the club, they threw the sprogs at me. And honestly, I was nervous as hell. I was familiar with the game and everything else. That wasn't an issue at all. But I've got a foul fecking mouth, and I really want to rein that in. And I did successfully for much longer than I ever thought I would. You can get used to doing things a certain way. You can anticipate how players are going to react to certain situations. That all goes out the window with A, new people, and B, new players, and B, a certain generation. And it was brilliant. It was one of the most enjoyable times I've ever had.
So be open to the experience. Don't narrow down your options when it comes to the people that you'll be playing with. You'll have a fairly decent idea of what the makeup of the people playing it might be. But if you are worried about that kind of thing, you could always go online, look at the community. There might be photographs that give away, what level of geekdom you're dealing with. We're all geeks. That's a spoiler for you. So I think
tell a photo of how geeky you are.
I'd like to bring this podcast to an end now. And just to finish it off, I'm going to ask each of you that if this was your first session and you had done a little bit of homework or had an idea about what you might take as your first character, what character would that be? Who wants to go first?
Well, my first character I did ever play was a cleric, I remember, because I was very helpful for the rest of the party. They loved me. You got a healing spell. You're the favourite person ever.
Did that help you integrate?
Yeah, it did, yeah. Yeah, it was great. Everyone sort of like saying, we've got some healing. I go, yeah, it's me.
Take a helpful character then.
Absolutely.
Make friends.
Take someone helpful. Yeah, or you play the rogue later on and steal all the gold and everyone hates you. Yeah, don't do that first. Do that second.
So cleric would be your choice.
First. Yeah, do that first.
That's a very nice choice.
I'll
go around the table then, John.
Well, my first ever one was a paladin. In general, I do tend to like a jack of all trades.
So there would be a bard under these circumstances?
A bard was something I liked. They had the spell casting, they had the gift of the gab, which I found more and more useful, but not in a dedicated dungeon crawl. But yeah, being able to have a go at most things I like. You lose out on specialisation. You're not as good as the fighter. You're not as good as the wizard. You're not as good as the thief. But you can do a little bit of everything. And for me personally, I've always liked that.
And with the bard.
That versatility, yeah.
Yeah. Barry?
Right, I think this might say a bit about me. I can't narrow it down to just one, and it would be two, and I don't think they could be any more different. It would be a warlock or a barbarian.
Multi-class.
I don't multi-class.
What's the primary reason for each of those choices?
So the first character I ever played was a warlock, and the prime reason for that is the single cantrip. That's it. Just Eldritch Blast is the most fun you can have with your finger. That came out wrong. So from a character playing point of view, they couldn't be any more different. But I think what they both do really well is have it's kind of the opposite to you. It's the one trick pony. Yeah. So you're a warlock. From the get-go, you've got a phenomenal attack spell. You can use it over and over and over again. But also as a magic user, a warlock is really easy in terms of admin because you only get 2 spell slots. And that's it. If you cast 2 spells, you're done until you short rest. And again, one trick pony with the barbarian, you get your rage. Rage is just really good fun to play. When you rage, you are just a certified badass.
They've also upped that with the new 6th edition thing, or whatever they call it.
2024 edition.
So you can use your strength bonus on things like perception checks.
Okay. Yeah, so mine would be a fighter. I just like getting into the thick of things. I like combat, but also, if you've got a fighting character, you can still be involved in all of the role play, all of the investigation and everything else. I think it just gives you a stake in everything, and I've always enjoyed a vanilla fighter very much. So that would be my choice, I think, if it was my first session. And you can always shake down other players' characters as well and take things off them against their will.
Mean.
Well, did I say you've never done it?
No, you've done it to my characters. I remember in the day.
Oh,
and the DM that
are we getting Big Brother dynamics?
Well, yeah,
here
it
now?
is, yeah. DM didn't do me any favours. Let you shake down the party, didn't he?
He did allow us to do that quite a bit.
Yeah.
It was helpful back in the days when you needed money to go up levels. And,
yeah. We might have to go into different mechanics for different things on other things.
Money's really important, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much again for listening.
We good? We're ready?
Yeah, we're good.
So let's
slice and dice.